So the first thing I did was took all three of my villagers and made a house with them. Next thing I did was take my scout and get the sheep that are around that I could see. And if I couldn't have seen them, I would have searched around the area to look for them. And then after that, I went into, okay, so before I queued, actually no, I queued my villagers already. But after the house was done, I took all three of them and put them on one sheep and left one extra sheep there, but I'm leaving all the other sheep over on the side over here, too far away, because that means that they'll all go to one sheep, so the least amount of meat is being decayed from them, and along with that, if they're not too far away, so they just have to stand up and put it away, there's no walking involved. And now what I'm doing with my scout is I'm just searching around my general vicinity to look for things that are nearby, like gold, stone. I actually got really lucky here, and they were all within my town center area. And then once I got like kind of near the population cap, I had one of my villagers go make another house, and now I've got 6 villagers. So uh, once I have 6 villagers, I want to go and have the next one get me wood, but I didn't find wood until now, so I have this one extra villager there. So instead I'm leaving him there, and I'm taking this one to go and get me wood instead. And then after this, it's just a matter of getting more people onto wood, because I knew that I would want a dock soon, because of because it's basically another village at this point. I'm creating fishing boats instead of villagers. It'll get me more food, which is really nice to have. And then so I see that boar right there. I know I'm gonna need to use that boar eventually, and I'm fairly certain I do use it, and I'll come back to that when I do. So I'm gonna speed this up a little bit because it's basically just me producing villagers and getting them onto wood, because I've got 6 people on the food already. And I'm remembering to bring one sheep in after after there are no more. So this is where I get my boar. I make sure to shoot him twice so it's permanently on the villager, and get it as close to the town center as possible, and have the people that are on the sheep start killing the boar so the villager that attacked it at first doesn't die. So now is when I make that boat, and I hit population cap there for a second, which isn't too big of a deal, but I need to make sure to keep the population cap up. So once you're getting close to it, you want to take somebody from wood and put them onto houses. And now that I'm running low on sheep, I decided to start hunting the deer that were nearby. And if there weren't any deer nearby, I would have built a mill at the deer that were like in a deer patch. And I hit population cap again, unfortunately, which is something that I need to work on personally. But just gotta keep having somebody make houses when possible. And right here, now that I'm at about 25 villagers, I have somebody making a mining camp for gold, and I'm gonna have 2 villagers on gold while I go to feudal age. And now that the deer are basically gone, I'm starting to make farms. And I'm also producing fishing boats and making sure that there's always a queue of them. making sure that it's not idle. And something else that I need to continue doing is using my scout cavalry to search around for the enemy's town centers. Unfortunately, I'm not that good at that either. So now that I hit feudal age, what I need to do is make 2 buildings that can help me go up to castle age. And I didn't do that very quickly, but what I recommend is a marketplace and a blacksmith. And another thing is, on your way to feudal age, what you want to do, that I didn't do here, is make a barracks. So you get the ability to make a stable and an archery range. Also, in the feudal age, once you get there, you want to work on upgrading your lumber and gold supply. Along with that, your farm, so they work more efficiently. And basically all I am doing is trying to get enough resources to go up to the castle age. And I could have at this point already, but I didn't have the buildings that I am building now. And now that I have those, I can start heading up to the castle age. And I have this transport ship just so I can send a few villagers up to another area, because this map is Hamburger, and it has an outer ring of supplies that you can use that is separated by boat. So basically what I'm doing with these villagers is bringing them over here, so I have the ability to make town centers over there, since it's more isolated. And since I don't have a scout cavalry over there, unfortunately, I am using them to scout around for a good place to set up a town center. And I see that gold there, so I decide that that's where I want to build it. And now that the fish in this area are kind of dying down, I start making fishing traps with my fishing boats. And since I wasn't in the castle age yet, I decided to put them onto wood just so they're not just standing around for too long. But once I hit castle age, I put a town center up immediately. So at this point, I have villagers queued up in both town centers at the same time. I should have a third one up by now already, but I was a little slow on that part. Okay, so now I am starting to build my forces up, like the barracks and the siege workshop, so I can start defending myself and my teammates, because I see down here is my teammate is getting attacked, so I want to build defenses to help him out by building the siege workshop and these 2 barracks. Or no, these are stables. I made stables for knights, but I have a barracks right here as well. And I made a mangonel just because they're good at taking out large groups, but that probably wasn't the greatest idea against the knights because of their speed. So I'm still just continuing to build up my economy and producing a very small military just to be able to defend my teammates. And I'm building further and further up to where the attack is happening, just so my troops don't have to walk so far just to get there. start to slow it down here, just because this is when it gets a little tough to keep up with, because of how much I have to do at once.
Kia.
So at this point, I am using my scout cavalry to try to find a good place for another town center, and I find a good one right here. So I decided to start building my third town center here. I could start building more town centers as well, but I usually keep to 3. It's usually fine with me. But so I've got my barrack going up here, and I've got a very small military to protect my remaining team right here, and this guy right here decided to leave and start building up here instead. So instead of try to take this back over, we can just cut them off right here and defend here. And once this town center goes up, I will be producing villagers from here, here, and here pretty much constantly. At least that's what I would want to do. And I decided to put more people on gold just to get my gold up to produce the stronger things to defend with, like the mangonels. And then I think eventually I'll have started producing the pikemen because of the knights that they have. And I know I have a few right here as well. Along with that, I'm making sure to get the two infantry blacksmith upgrades. If I were using any ranged weapons, I would be getting those as well. And I'm also keeping up to date on the lumber upgrades and the mining upgrades, along with the farm upgrades. And I'm also keeping a queue of farms in, so I don't have to continue replanting manually. And at this point in the game, I'm pretty sure my scout just stays there the entire time, which wasn't very smart of me. I probably should have kept exploring with him. But now red is getting a little bit more built up again, and green isn't. I think they quit at this point. So now I'm still just trying to get my economy up as much as possible by distributing pretty evenly between cutting wood and farming, and then a few less on gold and stone. Unfortunately, I put way too many on gold over here without realizing it, and I don't have nearly as many villagers farming as I should have. And right here, I realized that they've got a monk here, so they start converting my villagers. So at this point, I should have just moved all of my villagers down to over here, but I decided to keep them there, which turns out badly for me later on. And another thing I should have done is produce more infantry to defend with, but I was just too focused on my economy. And I also, at this point, I have a villager producing houses basically constantly until I reach the population cap. And I'll also hit the period key every once in a while to see if I have any idle villagers. And at this point, yellow starts to advance and my guys just attack normally, but I hear that warning that I'm being attacked, so I go down here and look at it and realize that I need to pump out some pikemen, so that's what I'm doing right now. And I also upgraded them because at first they started something a lower tier. So now I have the upgraded version of them. And this mangonel really didn't do much for me. I probably shouldn't have produced it at all, but I did, so. so now I've got a small bit of farms right here. I'm relying mostly on the fishing boats, but there aren't nearly as many as I need. So eventually I'm going to run into a food crisis, basically, because I've got way too many. I have way too many villagers on gold. Oh, like half of these should have gone to farming. So, because of my pikemen, I was able to take out all of these knights. And I decided not to go up over here to take this back over, because that would just take too much manpower. I wanted to continue upping my economy instead of attacking and getting that back, just because it's so close to the enemy, they'll just try to take it back again. And it was too far away for me to defend. And I'm always making sure not to have idle villagers, like right over here. You don't want idle villagers. That's just a lost population cap. Yeah, like, I'm still not producing any food. Let's see, these guys I have going over to wood. So I'm trying to get more wood, and I'm not too sure why. Because at this point I've stopped producing boats. Okay, so yeah, I've got pikemen queued up now in all of these, and I'm just having them come down here to protect me. And over here, I decided to take out these villagers just to mess with their economy a little bit. So I have these guys guarding this mangonel while the mangonel goes and takes out the villagers that are around. And over here, I start getting attacked by conquistadors, which is really bad because my pikemen I have coming down here to protect. So I have nobody protecting me from these three guys that can just go and tear through my economy. So I decide to ring the town bell just to save anybody near it, but they're just too, the town center just doesn't deal enough damage to them, and they backed off enough that it couldn't reach it anymore. So now I have a ton of idle villagers in my town center and nothing to defend myself with. So I've got these guys down here, but they're so far away that it would take forever for them to walk back up here. So I'm pretty much at a standstill right here. I really should have had more people defending up here. But now these villagers that I didn't take down here are being killed by these conquistadors. And that's very bad news for my economy. So I start moving some, pumping up the villager output from these things. And I think at this point is when I realize that I don't have enough food for this. So I start making more and more farms. But my pikemen are finally coming out of this thing, and I'm just having them target one conquistador at a time, and hoping to get them, or hoping to kill them. And I thought, for some reason I thought that pikeman was going to kill both of them. Actually, I had a second one right there. I thought the two were going to be able to kill all three of them. They killed one, but that just didn't do. And I let my villagers go back to work a little too soon. But two more pikemen popped up from my barracks, so I was able to kill them off with that. And also, the villagers that I didn't move down here like I should have are also being attacked by conquistadors on the other side. Yeah, so I've still got villagers queued up in every single one of these. I guess not this one. So yeah, that's something that I really should have done, is kept producing villagers, because I don't have nearly enough. And I've got way too many on gold. Like, that's an insane amount on gold. I really didn't need that many. And I decide, because conquistadors keep coming through here, and I finally get rid of my villagers right here and have them go down here. Because of the conquistadors that were attacking. But because of that, I decided to start trying to make a castle right here, just because this is the only place that they can come in at. So it's like a bottleneck. So I have these guys come over here to try to build it, when I've only got 2 pikemen to protect them, which is not the smartest of ideas. Because now those villagers are just walking to their death, and that's exactly what happens. And I've also got a small backlog of people defending right here, right along here, basically. While I try to protect myself from this attack right here, because they've got way more conquistadors than I can handle. And then I realize that I've got this backlog, so I take these guys and start heading them up here, because this one barracks isn't going to do enough. So I also started making some more for these pikemen, because there are way too many conquistadors for me to deal with. And all those villagers that I sent up to the castle, yep, they're dead now. So that's just more villagers I don't have, and that's villagers that I am not producing. Okay, I start producing them up here because I realize that down here is not very good for my economy, because there are enemies basically right in the middle of it. So these pikemen that I brought up are almost here, and I also have these 4 from this barracks right here. And these 2 are done now, so I can start producing from these 2 as well. So I've tripled my output from right here. And I'm slowly starting to deal with these conquistadors that were brought over. And since they had these pikemen as well, what I should have done is created archers to defend against these guys, but my pikemen were better than theirs. They had better defense, but I had better attack, so I was able to just outnumber them. So now that I have this place taken care of right here, I decide to bring up these villagers that were building the barracks to build a castle. And at this point, I still have villagers getting pumped out from here, moving my economy back to somewhere more safe, instead of right in the middle of all the action. And at this point, I also noticed that they've got a slight navy, so I start researching war galley to be able to build the war galleys to take them out, or at least defend myself from a naval attack. And at one point I actually make 3 more docks as well to produce galleys more quickly. So at about this point I realized that these guys are being attacked because they didn't say anything about it. So I start pumping pikemen out again, because I didn't know that they were under attack. So this is going to hurt, green a lot. They've quit at this point. But red's also going to be slightly damaged by this because their town center is right in the middle of that fight, and they only have 1 of them. But this castle, fortunately, goes up, so it can protect against the bottleneck right here. And now I'm basically safe from any attack that's coming from up here. But I decide to pay more attention down here to defend myself from this attack, because up here I'm pretty safe at this point. And I also realize right here that we're about to break through to the other side, so that might be a point of opportunity to attack. So at this point, because of my pikeman production, we've pretty much fended off this attack against my teammates, which are pretty decimated at this point. But Red's still holding in. So I come back down here again just to harass whoever's around here, and also Red wanted to get their mines back, but it was a pretty lost cause at this point, and I wasn't really gonna try to defend it all that much. But yeah, over here, there's no way they can get in anymore. It's bottlenecked up and protected by this castle, so I didn't really worry about it at all, and started to work on getting a better military and also my food up, because my food was doing very poorly at this point. Like all these villagers right here were going to creating farms. But yeah, now I'm being attacked up here, over here, and here at the same time. But I just made sure to have enough like military units to fend off whoever's attacking me. And then up here, my pikemen just get aggroed by somebody, so they just run up here and just start getting killed. I didn't really bother trying to save them because they weren't really needed up there anyway, or down here, they were kind of just sitting units. So at this point, I'm just worried about fixing my food source because of how low it is. Finally, I get to that. But I also get to just keep producing units to defend myself. Those two don't have anything, but yeah, this is when I start building the docks to create more port galleys, because I liked having a defense right here of galleys just so nothing could come in and just take out basically my only food source at this point. So this castle, I wasn't really worried about repairing. I kind of just figured that it was going to fall eventually, and I would have realized when it fell and had things come up and defend. But it never did actually end up falling, so it worked fine with taking out these war galleys. But yeah, I noticed over here that we've completely broken through, so I just take some mangonels and start wiping out the villagers along here just to harass their economy a little bit. And also down here, they start making archers to counter my pikemen, which I should have built more knights to counter their crossbowmen, but I never did. Fortunately, it wasn't a problem because I was also creating mangonels, which are another counter to them. But I noticed up here that this is really going to be a good spot to start pushing onto the enemy and taking them out one by one. But also down here, I noticed that we were being attacked, but it's mostly by knights, so I wasn't too worried about it because I've got pikemen. And I wanted to get halberdiers, but I kept running out of food because I didn't have enough people on food. So I just kept trying to up my food production to counter this, but I really should have had that done earlier game. But yeah, right here is where a good portion of my lumbering had been done, but most of my villagers at this point are being interrupted by the war that's going on. But fortunately, I had more people in different areas cutting down trees, so losing this wasn't all that bad. just gonna go ahead and speed this up because I'm more of off the defense at this point and going on to attacking because I've got my Halberdiers now, so I outclass all of their military because only me and Purple are in the Imperial Age, and all they're really using are the Conquistadors, and the Conquistadors are very weak against the Halberdiers. So right here, I build forward siege workshops, and on the other side, I build a few barracks because I'll be mass producing mangonels and Halberdier to start my attack. So here are the barracks. And this siege workshop I didn't put in a very good place because there wasn't even a small area that the villagers could have worked on it right here, so they would have had to go all the way around. So the positioning wasn't that great. But I just put some Halberdier right here to put forward defense for these buildings to protect them so they didn't fall down. And I also put a castle right here because this is like a big place that I want to defend because of how open it is to red. And then I've just got buildings sprawling all over here because I'm at the I'm at the population cap now. And this is when I start to just mass produce onagers and Halberdiers to take out these conquistadors, and the onagers are what was going to just destroy the buildings. And then red helps me out by sending a few pikemen to take out these conquistadors and anything that tries to attack my forward base. So at this point, I kind of just let my Halberdier run free and just attack anything that moves, basically. And I also made sure to keep a backlog. I didn't want to send them in, like, up here, because then they just run in one at a time and get slaughtered. What you want to do is create a small bit of them and then send quite a few at a time instead of just like one or two. And so I take my onagers and I focus them on town centers, and I chose onagers for this because the Celts are really good, or the Celts are really good with siege weapons. So I used them to take out the buildings and like big groups of infantry, while my Halberdiers just protected them basically. And also over here, I realized that there was an opening and they started coming from it, so I'm producing Halberdiers from here as well to defend myself up here, since it's fairly open and there's still a little bit of economy left on this island that I want to protect, even though the bulk of it is over here. And at this point, I use my scout to try to look for some gold last minute, because I was running out of it to mine because of how many villagers I had on it mining. But purple at this point is fairly taken down. There's not really much they can do to defend against this. Yeah, I've got trebuchets now to take out the castles. And I've decided that they're just done for. There's not really much that I need to do anymore to attack them. So I moved down to the basically next in line, and start taking these guys' town centers out with my onagers. And I also use the trebuchets to take out the town centers as well, because if they don't have any way to produce villagers, then there's not really much they can do to build their economy back up once I destroy it. And I believe that purple has given up at this point. They resigned. So now it's 2v2 basically, because red's built up enough again to kind of help attack, and we don't really have to defend anymore, and green gave up a long time ago. So these trebuchets I really should have micromanaged a little more, but they're kind of just attacking random stuff. But now that I have purple taken out, I decided to build more forward siege workshops and barracks, just so I don't have to walk from all the way over here to all the way over here to start taking them out. And also, I have halberdiers that kind of just wandered down here by attacking things, and notice that they've got a castle here now. But there's not really much I do with them to micromanage them. I kind of just let them do whatever. So at this point, the game's pretty much over, so I'm gonna end it about right here. All that happens is we just destroy all the town centers of everybody and the castles, and they end up resigning. And thank you for watching.